Welcome to the home of football. Better still, welcome back to the home of football. 2012-2013 is upon us already. Saturday afternoon, live at the home of football. It is Arsenal versus Sunderland. Do join Dan Roebuck for the matchday show. But more to the point, stay right where you are for the first fans forum of a new season. Great to have you with us. It has flown by. Mind you, there's some Arsenal boys been doing sterling work, especially in track and field at those Olympics. And now, plenty to talk about, not least yesterday's performance in Cologne in Arsenal's last pre-season outing before the real thing kicks off in 6 days' time. And one or two other stories floating about the place that you might want to discuss over the course of the next hour and a half or so, just in case you lost your phone or your diary or your address book, wherever it was over the summer. Let me remind you of how to get in touch, whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's the Arsenal it'll do for us. 0207 607 3200 is the number you need. You can email fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, and the Twitter business, where you can follow the Twitter feed @Arsenal, or you can tweet us. The hashtag you need is fansforum. As always, got a competition coming up. We'll have highlights briefly of yesterday's win in Cologne, and as always, top guest. Top guest, formerly of this parish, the one, the only, Adrian Clarke is with us. Adrian, very good to see you, mate.
No, it's great to be back. Yeah.
I feel like we were kind of sitting here maybe sort of about a week ago.
Yeah, it's flown by. It's been ridiculous, but it's exciting, isn't it? New season, three fabulous new players on board. I couldn't be more excited about the coming weekend. No,
it does look good, and they look. I have to say, whatever you made of the opposition yesterday, the three of them was worth watching the game for. Cazorla particularly was.
Cazorla, yeah, what a player. He's a magician. I just love him in that little hole in behind the front man. But all three players are excellent talents, aren't they? So I think we've got a lot to look forward to with those three.
Absolutely. Plenty to look forward to tonight, actually. What exactly? Well, that'll be up to you. Whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's your Arsenal. Cologne yesterday, Sunderland Saturday, your hopes and fears for the season ahead. Or there may be one or two of those other stories that seem to haunt every summer at the home of football. You might want to have your say on one of those, whatever you want to talk about. 0207 607 3200 will get you through to Adrian and myself. You can email us fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or if you want to tweet, the hashtag is fansforum. You can follow the Twitter feed @Arsenal Live. Just before we remind ourselves of what happened in Germany yesterday, let's talk to John in New York, shall we? John, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
What you got for us, mate?
Well, actually, there's a few things that I wanted to mention, though. I mean, yesterday's game has demonstrated that Arsenal now has many different scoring options that they have not had the luxury of last year, which I think is wonderful. And more, also equally as important, they have incredible depth. But one thing I've noticed in the second half is that the player that really hasn't been talked about too much was Diaby, which I thought that his performance was flawless. I mean, Wenger treated him as the new signing. And, in addition to the three that was talked about very much, I thought that he was very athletic, lively, creative with crisp passes. What are your thoughts about Diaby's performance yesterday and his impact in the coming season, along with the three signings that we've had?
Yeah, John, it's a great question, because obviously everybody's kind of eyes been a bit off the ball, particularly particularly recently, whether it's Van Persie or Song or this one or the new signings. Diaby's come back, played the second half yesterday. He's played, he's been involved throughout pre-season. Yeah. What is this the season when he suddenly stays free of injury? Because that's
it has to be, Tom. It has to be. Because every year he promises so much, and then he gets injured, he comes back, he's injured again. It's been so frustrating for him and for the club. But he's a player of talent, and as John rightly says, in pre-season, the bits we have seen him play, 45 minutes here and there, he has looked impressive. He's a physical talent. And I love the way that he drives opposition defences. I don't think you can argue that he's not a quality player. It's just, can he stay fit? And that's always been the issue with him. And we'll just have to see, won't we, in the coming months, if he can overcome that fragility.
Yeah, and obviously we'll need time as well to get back to the. Did you say, John? Did you watch the Manchester City game?
I'm sorry, which was the Manchester City game?
Yeah.
No, I haven't had the chance to see the Manchester City game.
Yeah, I mean, the Manchester City game, again, looked really impressive with the ball. First Manchester City goal came directly from just... You know, he has those moments, doesn't he,
does.
Abu?
He can dither on the ball. He can hold on to it a little bit too long. But the fitness will come with games. But
and the awareness, because it's just being aware of danger and...
Against top quality sides, that's when that comes into play. Against the likes of Cologne, second string Cologne side, you can get away with certain things. But when you're playing the best sides in England or in Europe, you can't get away with things like that off of the ball.
Yeah.
So now I think Arsene Wenger's protecting him in pre-season, John. He's just giving him the odd run out here. He really does not want to overdo it with Abu Diaby, and understandably so.
Just very quickly, before we watch the goals from yesterday, John's right to talk about Diaby's talent. I mean, absolutely no question. Does he look ready to you? Look, Saturday's game. Does Diaby start? And if he does, Adrian, what position does he play in?
It's a good question. I think, what is his best position? In the first game in Malaysia, he was in behind the striker in a very offensive position. He could do that job very well in a Yaya Toure style.
Yeah.
But I think, in general, I think it would be as part of a midfield too. But the problem for Abu Diaby, and for all of the midfielders at the moment at Arsenal, is there is such competition for places. There are top quality players everywhere you look, and they're all playing pretty well.
Yeah.
So,
although you wouldn't say there's anybody who's like Abu Diaby necessarily. Do you know what I mean? He's
no, but then he's not a defensive specialist, and Arsene Wenger might want someone there who's more defensive minded. And then if you're looking for someone to burst forward, you've got Diaby, but you've also got Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's tucked inside in pre-season, looked very impressive too. You've got Mikel Arteta. He had a fabulous campaign last year.
Yeah,
he'll expect to play. And then, of course, hopefully soon, Jack Wilshere will be back. So, and we haven't even mentioned Aaron Ramsey.
What happened to Mikel Arteta yesterday, by the way?
What do you mean?
Someone must have said something. I mean, I thought this is a run out for everybody on the books at Arsenal, and Mikel Arteta's just smiling and enjoying himself there on the bench all afternoon. It was a comfortable run out in Germany at the Rhine Energy Stadium yesterday afternoon. Let's remind ourselves of how it went.
Corner then to the Gunners. Cazorla plays it in. Mertesacker with a flick, and Vermaelen is there to score. Inside 6 minutes at the Rhine Energy Stadium. Great start for the Gunners. Thomas Vermaelen, the captain. Ball flicked on there by Mertesacker, and Vermaelen scores very early on. Here's Podolski. Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's gone down. What's the decision? Is it a corner? No, I think it's a penalty. It is. Bundled over by Kevin Wimmer. Lukas Podolski back at the club where he had 2 very successful stints, and he scores. No celebration. 2-0. Never any doubts. Cazorla. Podolski. Good running by Kieran Gibbs. He's got plenty of time out there. Kieran Gibbs. Here's Lukas Podolski. What a finish. Well found by Gibbs. Linking really well here with Podolski, but this was some finish. A second goal for Lukas Podolski back at Cologne. It's well played again by Arsenal. Gervinho showing his pace. Trying to go around Pizzoni. He's done so. Gervinho's looking for support in the middle. Still Gervinho. Went for goal and scores. Well, he used the defenders as a decoy at the end. And Gervinho here, who scored twice in Cologne 12 months ago in the 2-1 victory, adds a 4 for Arsenal today. And just galloped past the defence here with no worries whatsoever. Arsenal then in the ascendancy, leading by 4-0.
And 4-0 it finished. Last pre-season game of the... Are we a little bit worried, Adrian, that nobody's played 90 minutes yet? I mean, nobody has played 90 minutes, have they?
Pretty unusual, I've got to say. As a player, I used to love to get 2 or 3 90 minutes under my belt before the season, because you really begin to notice it in the latter stages, because when you come to Premier League action or any first-team action, the pace is up that notch or 2, if not 3. So the boys haven't played 90. I suspect they might be feeling it a little bit in their lungs and in their legs at the weekend, but hopefully adrenaline will get them through.
Chris is in Islington. Chris, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us, mate.
Oh, hi. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, hiya. Far away, Chris.
Oh, yeah, I'm just about to say that I'm excited with Santi Cazorla.
Oh.
I think he's a fantastic player. He's a player we've always needed. I think he's the perfect replacement for Fabregas. He's got fantastic vision. He's so comfortable on the ball. He looks like he's been playing with us for years.
I know. Or at least he looks like he's been waiting to play for us for years.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could have asked for a first 45-minute glimpse of a player, what we got from Cazorla yesterday was just he really... If you weren't excited about the season, watch him for 45 minutes and you get excited about the season.
Yeah, I'm buzzing, and also I'm quite happy with signings of Podolski and Giroud. I think Podolski is fantastic. I think he's a winger who's clinical as well.
Yeah.
He's a great finisher, and he proved that against the game against Cologne.
Yeah, I mean, obviously their defending wasn't of the best. In fact, Cologne generally weren't of the best. But you are looking, Giroud and Podolski between them scored 40 league goals between them for their clubs last season. Yeah.
And Giroud as well, I think some people compare him to Marouane Chamakh. I think he's a total different player.
Yeah.
I think he's a target man, but as well he's got great mobility. He's quite a clever striker. He's got good movement, and he can also finish as well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the goalkeeper had a bit of a blinder first half. Yes. Their goalkeeper, rather than ours. Their goalkeeper had a bit of a blinder. Yeah. But what you've got to say is Giroud, every shot was on target. Do you know what I mean?
They were. Left foot in the air. He was powerful in the air. He got a very good header away that the keeper saved. No, I really liked his movement and the way that Cazorla was finding him. Coquelin as well, but picked him out a couple of times with runs in behind the defence. Really promising stuff from him. So it's early days for all of them. Look, it's a great 45 minutes. All 3 excelled, but there's a long way to go. But they're players of pedigree.
No, absolutely. And you are looking, relatively speaking, at more mature players as well. Certainly Podolski and Cazorla have been around a while. You're talking about people who are into the second half of their careers who you would hope would take a little less time to find their feet because of that.
Well, it's new for all of them. The new club, new country, new league. It's not a walk in the park. It would take them a little while to adapt to life on and off the pitch. But as you say, they're 25 and 27, and that's really that's peak time. I think Arsene Wenger has got these players in at just the right time in their careers. They're ready to just step into that side, as they showed at the weekend, and do the business.
Yeah. And that's 3 players of that quality signed for 40 million quid. 0207 607 3200 gets you through to the Fans Forum. Live from the home of football, exclusively on Arsenal Player. 0207 607 3200, the number. You can email us to fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, and you can follow the Twitter feed @Arsenal or tweet us. Fans Forum is the hashtag for your tweets. Email from Drew says, "Hi Tom, Adrian, glad you're back on air again. Question, were you surprised with the 11 that Arsene put out against Cologne? How would you line up against Sunderland?" That, my friend, is the question. Because I didn't think... maybe you saw this differently. It's a really interesting question, Drew, because I don't think it was a case of putting out the team that's going to start against Sunderland and then bringing other players on, was it?
No, I don't think
every
so.
friendly, there's been a kind of mix. There's never been 11 players on the pitch in pre-season who you would confidently say, that's the 11 that's going to start next Saturday.
Again, it is unusual, I have to say, because you expect most teams, the week before the season, will play the team that will start the following week. And there's no way that side will start. Vito Mannone won't be in goal, it'll be Szczesny. In defence, will Koscielny be on the bench? I'm not so sure. In midfield, Coquelin and Oxlade-Chamberlain did well, but that means no Alex Song and Mikel Arteta? I don't think so. So it'd be fascinating to see what happens. Gervinho has been outstanding in pre-season. He didn't start, but he came on and was excellent again. So I wouldn't know where to start in terms of picking the side for the weekend. I'm sure Arsene Wenger's got an idea, but he may not have made his mind up yet.
No, absolutely. Just one either or for you. Given that Bakary Sagna is out injured, Yenaris or Jenkinson?
It's a close call. It is a close call.
That's why I'm asking you, Adrian.
I know.
If it was easy, I wouldn't bother.
I know. I would probably...
I love them both, to be fair.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Yenaris. I think he's adapted well to right back. It's not his natural position, but he's been steady. I would go with Jenkinson, but he's got more Premier League experience. He knows how to defend, and I also like his attacking threat. He can whip a good cross in. And I think Arsenal are a better side when their fullbacks are flying forward. And in my opinion, Jenkinson's more comfortable flying down the wing than Nico Yenaris. But if Yenaris played, he wouldn't let Arsenal down. No, I would go for Jenkinson then.
Go through the whole team like this now.
Who would you go for then, Tom? I'll put you on the spot.
I would go for Jenkinson.
Okay.
I would go for Jenkinson, but there's something about Yenaris. You know, and to be fair, Carl Jenkinson's got the same thing. I love a player where you look at him and you just think, he's loving playing for the Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Yenaris looks to me like that would be my attitude if I was playing for the Arsenal. Do you know what I mean?
Of course they're going to love it. They're playing for Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly.
Much better than that.
Yeah, of course. We've got, as always, a competition for you this evening. Here's the thing. Over the summer, actually a couple of weeks ago, this was published. I don't know if you are 15 or under, 16 maybe even, or under, or know anybody who is. This is the prize. This is a collection of short stories, all about football, all indeed about a fictional football team by the name of Shelby Town. I mention it here because if you're looking very close indeed, you'll start picking out a theme. Among the contributors, Nick Hornby, Alan Davies, Faye White, Thomas Rositzky, even Arsenal's head of community, Alan Sefton. Yeah, you've got the general idea. It's not an Arsenal book, but there's plenty of Arsenal content. Book of short stories for teenagers, edited by myself, which is why I'm bunging it out tonight, obviously. All you need to do to win a copy of Football Shorts is answer this question. We saw the fun that was had in Cologne yesterday afternoon. We also beat Cologne in pre-season last season, ahead of the 2011-2012 season. What I want to know is who scored for Arsenal last season in Cologne. If you know the answer, we've got a dedicated email address for your competition entries. That is fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. That's fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. In the meantime, whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's the Arsenal, it's going to do for Adrian Clark and myself on tonight's Fans Forum. 0207 607 3200 is the number you need. Ray is in Camden. Ray, welcome to the home of football.
Hiya, mate. Hiya.
Yeah, how are you?
Not too bad.
Good.
Literally phoned in. Been impressed with the signings that Wenger's made an attack. But looking at the signings, I'm thinking we're a bit imbalanced in terms of our defence. Now, I know Cal Bartley's come back. He's come back from Rangers. But what do you think about the link with Nexus in a swap deal with Bentner? And do you think we need a couple more signings in defence?
It's a very good question. You might also, when you're talking about defence, might also want to include the goalkeeping position, whether there's, we need another goalkeeper or not. What do we think? Centre halves, fullbacks, goalkeeper? What really?
I'm with Ray. I think Arsenal would benefit from a couple of defensive-minded players before the end of the window. I think Jan Mavia has been linked, hasn't he, for forever, really.
Yeah.
Whether he comes or not, clearly Arsene Wenger is looking to bring in someone of that ilk, someone who can.
But that's a defensive midfielder.
I think Arsenal will benefit from that because they've got so much talent going forward that you need to have someone who's willing to kind of hold their ground.
Yeah.
Also in defence, I think Arsenal could do with another body. I really do. Vermaelen, Koscielny, Mertesacker. It's a good trio. At fullback,
Giroud?
I don't know. He's had a lot of opportunities. Johan Giroud. I don't know whether it may be better for him to play first team football elsewhere, on loan perhaps, and bring in someone else. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if Arsene Wenger dipped in for a defender or two, because going forward I see no issues at all. But defensively, if injuries bite, there's a slight concern that we're a little bit weaker in that department. And off the ball is the department that Arsenal have struggled in recent seasons. Scoring goals is not a problem. It's letting in too many. There were far too many conceded last year, and Arsene Wenger and Steve Bold will be determined to improve on that.
Ray, you still there?
Yeah, still with you.
Just you mentioned that it's kind of story in the paper. Obviously, the possibility of swapping Bendtner for Mexes. I mean, I wonder about Mexes anyway. And particularly, I wonder, you look at the three signings who I think we can all agree are very, very exciting signings for the football club. But they are all, relatively speaking, mature overseas players. And we get into the area where you have to start thinking about the composition of the squad, not just for how you would like the squad to be, but how you're allowed to have the squad in terms of home-developed players, do you know what I mean, and younger players. And one of the things that Giroud is, of course, he's a home-developed player.
Yeah.
He's been at the club that long. And, I think, to be perfectly honest, I think a 30-year-old French centre-half... Actually, we've had one of those recently. I don't think that's what we need. I can't see that as a signing.
No. I know where you're coming from. I mean, but I do think that Arsenal, if injuries bite, it's an issue. If Koscielny's out or Vermaelen's out, then we're light in that department. And Johan Giroud is a good player, but is he strong enough? I mean, what do you think, Ray? Is Ray gone?
Yeah.
I mean, I just would suspect that Arsene Wenger, if the right player comes up, he may go for him. But if the right player doesn't come up, Arsene Wenger won't go for him, as he's proven.
And is a 30-year-old French centre-half the right player, given the composition?
Philippe Mexes, in my opinion, no. I don't rate him, to be perfectly honest. I think there are a lot better centre-halves around.
But you go and find a kind of Carl Jenkinson. You go and find like a young, raw English centre-half.
Well, I'd love that to happen. That would be brilliant. It could be Carl Bartley. But
what I was going to say was, do you bother doing that if you've got Carl Bartley around the place?
It depends. What Arsene Wenger's seeing in Carl Bartley. I know you're pretty well for Rangers on loan last year. He's seeing him in training. He'll have a good idea whether he thinks he's ready or not. Only Arsene Wenger knows that.
Chris is in Milton Keynes. Chris, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Hi, Tom. How you guys doing?
Yeah, not bad. Looking forward to Saturday.
To have you guys back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mo Farah, by the way. Mo Farah, top man. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think there's a lot of thanks have to go to the Arsenal for, Mo, I don't know if you heard the interview where he's talking about all the sacrifices he has to make for his track and field career. Number one, not being able to watch the Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Absolute top man. And here's the one, Greg Rutherford.
Is he a Gooner as well?
Great-grandfather, never mind Gooner, great-grandfather played for the football club. Wow. Go and look up Jock Rutherford.
Arsenal won the Olympics then.
Exactly right. Chris, what you got for us, mate?
It's been an exciting summer. I think for once the board have done well with the signings, got them in early. I'm excited about them, but I know we need to give them time.
Yeah.
And I mean, from what I saw yesterday, it was quite impressive. So, good job to the board. I want to talk about the Van Persie situation as well. I mean, well, with the rumours flying around, apparently he's headed up north to United. Really hope that doesn't happen, because as much as we've bought these new players in, I mean, if we sell our best striker to one of our main rivals, I mean, what does that tell us, the fans?
Yeah.
I mean, because we want to challenge for all the trophies, and for once, I think for the first time, we set out to challenge on all four fronts. So, I mean, without selling our best striker to United, I mean, that's not a good sign. And at the moment, we've got a few days to the start of the season. So, I mean, what will that say, you know?
Yeah.
I really hope he doesn't go. I mean, worst case scenario, I hope we sell him abroad, but I think he's really been advised badly by his agent as well.
Yeah, well, obviously that is the kind of story, and you know, it's just been dragging on. Obviously, Robin, for whatever reason, saw fit to do that letter earlier in the summer, which is just spectacularly ill-advised. Spectacular, you know. Answer me this, Chris: if Robin is still an Arsenal player on Saturday,
Yeah.
would you start him against Sunderland?
Yeah, I start him against Sunderland because at the end of the day, Podolski and Jude haven't played in the Premier League for that long. Okay, so they need to get used to it. So I'll start him against Sunderland, and I'll be playing for a bit, and then if you're winning the game, I'd obviously bring our new signings on. But I personally will keep him because end of the day, with the players we've got, obviously the more we progress in most competitions, the more money we make. So, I mean, if we're going to sell them for 20 million and we get to, let's say, the semi-finals or finals of some competitions, I'm sure we would have made that money back anyway.
What do you think, Adrian? I mean, it's a real, you know, you could hear great travelling support to Cologne yesterday, but you could hear, you know, it wasn't exactly
there was a mixed reaction. There were a few boos, to be fair, and I can understand that. It was disappointing, wasn't it? That letter, I think it was ill-advised. I don't understand what Robin thought he'd gain from making that public. It's just a pity because he's been such a great servant for the club, a wonderful season last year. You just want him to kick on now and become a real club legend. I don't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't like to see him sign for Manchester United because, you don't want to sell your best players to your rivals. It's going to give them a real leg up. But you don't want players here who don't want to be here. So I'm still hoping that it can be turned around and that they can just sit around.
Would you have any problem whatsoever? I mean, you know what it's like in a dressing room, and you know, from time to time while you were here, there were, you know, there's always someone's unhappy. But do you think that the dressing room will still be such? Would you, if Robin's here on Saturday, which you kind of assume he will be because he's going to be away with Holland all week, does he start?
I don't know if he'll start because he hasn't played much football in pre-season. He's hardly had a kick. He only had 20 minutes at the weekend. That's the only action he's seen in an Arsenal shirt since the Euros. So he's undercooked in terms of preparation for the season. Players look after themselves, Tom. They're only really interested in their own game. They're going to focus on themselves. And Robin's their mate. He's always going to be their mate. As far as I know, everybody still gets on fantastically with him. He was brilliant in the dressing room last year. He galvanised the side. I'm sure that he's still the same person and that they'll just get on with it. But the problem is you don't really want a player that desperately doesn't want to be here. I don't know whether that's the case with Robin. I genuinely don't know whether he's desperate to leave. I would hope he isn't. I hope that the situation can be resolved and they can just have a chat, sit around and say, look at these players we've brought in, we're going to try and do this season, we want you to stay, come on, sign this new deal. I know, and I hope he does, but if he turns around and says no, then he must be sold.
Must be sold. If he says, as he said in that,
if that's his stance
letter,
still,
I will not sign another contract with Arsenal, then should he not play this season?
I wouldn't. We saw it with Thierry Henry. He wasn't the same Thierry Henry in that last season. Cesc Fabregas too. We didn't see the best of him. If you know that a player's going to leave at the end of the season, it's just a weird situation. And financially, Arsenal will be better off selling him too. So,
even if that means selling him to Manchester United or Manchester City.
Well, I'd love to think that Arsenal wouldn't do that, but who knows? I don't know. It depends how badly Man City want him.
Well, obviously not badly enough, otherwise he would already have gone, presumably.
Are they prepared to pay the price that Arsenal want for him? If they're not, then perhaps Robin van Persie will stay here for another season. And if he does, if that is the situation, I wouldn't leave him on the bench then. I would include him, and if he's playing well, play him, and hope that you can persuade him between now and January, perhaps, to sign that new deal.
0207 607 3200 gets you through. You can email us, Adrian Clark and myself, on tonight's Fans Forum, live from the home of football and exclusive to Arsenal player. fansforum@arsenal.co.uk. Email from Nedjferk says, "Hi guys, do you think that Arsenal's defence is improving under Bold? I think that centre-backs are too deep and then we concede too many goals from counter-attacks. Also, Song should hold his position of defensive midfield because now we have the magician Cazorla in the team who will provide key passes." What do you think?
I don't know. We've conceded quite a few goals in pre-season. I know
soft ones too.
Yeah, it hasn't been overly impressive in the defensive department so far, but it's a work in progress. They've been in Germany for a couple of weeks now. Well, they're back now, but they were working very, very hard, I suspect, on the shape of the team, and that will be crucial. But yeah, they haven't been convincing. But Steve Bold, I expect his main role on the training field will be to really get that defence sorted, and that's not just the back four; it's the midfield.
It's what the whole team does.
Yeah, it's the whole team. I do expect an improvement from Arsenal defensively this year, but hand on heart, I can't say we've seen it so far.
Yeah. How much of it? I mean, the Nedge is kind of suggesting there. How much of what we need to get right defensively could be solved by having an out-and-out... Because Alex Song, it's interesting him saying, oh, well, Cazorla will provide the key passes, because you have to say Alex Song dug us out with for all Robin Van Persie was getting on the end of them. In the final third, Alex Song was absolutely key on so many occasions last season, and yet people go, oh, he should concentrate on defending. Do you think we need someone who does just sit and look after business?
First things first, you can't change Alex Song. He is what he is.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to restrict him. He loves to go forward. He loves to play those beautiful through balls that were excellent last season. I don't think it's possible to restrict him to sitting in front of the back four. I just don't think it's going to happen. And I don't think that Arsene Wenger asked him to do that. I think that they take turns to go forward, but you'll always have someone who holds their ground. Yeah. But I don't think it's his responsibility. But against certain teams in the Premier League and the Champions League, we've been exposed because we haven't had a defensive midfield player. And I think horses for courses in certain home games where you're on the front foot from the minute one, really, you don't need that kind of player. But in some games you really...
particularly if you've got someone as intelligent as Mikel Arteta in the team.
Absolutely. But against the Cities, the Uniteds, the Barças, the Real Madrids, I think it would benefit Arsenal. They would have more chance of success if they could have this other plan where they have someone who sits in front of the back four and protects them.
Is Francis Coquelin ready to be that player yet?
Don't know. We haven't seen. He hasn't been tested in that regard yet, has he? So the jury's out on that. I'd like to see him given a chance because I really like him as a player. I think he's a player of some promise, but until he's given that opportunity, we just don't know. So
0207 607 3200 gets you through. Charlie is in Mortlake in southwest London. Charlie, you're very welcome to the home of football.
Hi. I heard a rumour that we were possibly thinking of making a bid for Gregory van der Veer, and as far as I know, he's a right back. But in my opinion, I think that we really are in dire need of a new left back because, Kieran Gibbs and Andre Santos, they're decent, but for me, against the big boys in the Premier League, I don't think they're up to it. I mean, maybe Andre Santos, we could push him up to left mid, but I think we need a new left back.
Okay,
it's interesting, Charlie. Yeah, what is it? I can see where you're coming from with Andre Santos defensively. I think he hasn't shown. He's been very good going forward, hasn't he? As he was against West Brom, that lovely strike. He's an entertainer. He's a bit of a maverick. Fans like him. He's a bit of a cult hero. Kieran Gibbs, not so long ago, was on the periphery of the England side. He is an England international. Do you think he's gone backwards then? Is that what you're trying to say?
Or are you just worried about his injury record, Charlie?
No, last season, I mean, he did show signs that he was a good defender, but if you when you look at the other top 4 sides left backs, such as Ashley Cole, Gael Clichy, Evra. He just doesn't compare to them. I think if we want to have a Premier League winning defence, we need a Premier League winning left back. Not necessarily someone that's won the Premier League, but someone that is very good. Maybe someone like Taiwo. I think he'd maybe.
It's a tough one. It is, Charlie. I think Kieran Gibbs has got the potential to win you over and the fans over. I genuinely do. But he's been fragile in a similar way to Diaby. He's never had that run of games where he becomes a focal point of the team. I think going forward he's really good, and defensively he'll get better this season. If he's the regular, I think you'll see a big improvement from Kieran Gibbs this season. So who knows? But I think he's got the ability to win you over. I really do.
Yeah, I've got to admit, well, you probably know if you were watching this last night, I'm a huge fan of Andre Santos. I mean, yeah, I think the problem with Santos was that he came. Well, funny enough, we're talking about whether players have had enough games and are going to be ready for the start of the season. When he arrived for Fenerbahce, plain simple, not fit, not ready. And I thought over the course of his first kind of 10, 12 games for the club, I just thought he got better and better and better. No, he's not one who's going to kind of go, charging, flying into. He's got. I think he's intelligent, knows when to put a little foot in. I actually think he'll do for me, Santos. Yeah. I think a fit Andre Santos is a very, very good player indeed, and I haven't got a huge problem with the two of them.
No.
As our left backs. The problem, of course, is that you could say we had 4 fullbacks last season, and after season we didn't have any of them available, and we're playing centre halves there, which may be why a Van der Wiel, for example.
I don't see that. I don't see that happening because Van der Wiel will want to be a regular, and Bakary Sagna is, in my opinion, the best right back in the Premier League when he's fit. So you can't drop Bakary Sagna. So when he comes back, which hopefully won't be too far away, then Van der Wiel will be on the bench. I don't see that one happening.
So are you with Charlie that we need another left back then?
No, not necessarily.
Because I can see you looking at me, you're giving me the eyes when I'm talking about Big George off the estate. But I'm a fan.
Yeah, I guess I'm not entirely convinced. I'm not convinced that he's a left back. I think that's where my worries come from. Just positionally, sometimes I see so many balls fly over his head to the right wing when he's out of position. There's work to do. It's a work in progress. But I'm with you on the entertainment factor and the fact that he's a player of ability. He's a likeable character. I think in the dressing room he's fantastic. But for me, Kieran Gibbs is the number one.
Yeah. And is Santos all right for your number 2, or are you with Charles that we need to go and buy a left back?
No, I wouldn't put that as the priority. But if we went out and signed Leighton Baines or one of the guy that just gone to Barcelona for Spain, if we signed someone of that ilk, I wouldn't be up in arms.
Yeah. Well, you see, Adrian Clark, you can always count on him to be reasonable. 0207 607 3200 gets you through. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk. You can also, of course, follow the Twitter feed. Best of all, you can tweet us. The feed is @Arsenal. If you want to tweet us, then the hashtag you need is fansforum. Got some tweets. First on the subject of Abu Diaby. @RLewisAFC says about Abu, needs run of games, unbelievably talented, would have been one of Europe's best attacking midfielders without injuries. @Sanshawala says an injury-free Abu can be this season's Rosicky. His talent and technique are unparalleled when he is fit and in form. @RabbyX7XAFC, you get the drift. I have always been a fan of a fit Diaby, and clearly Wenger has faith in him. Hope this is the season he makes his mark and repays Arsene and Arsenal. And @SulexB says he looks fit enough, and if he stays with us, it's a big boost for us this season. Supports both attack and defence. And some fantastic points there. And, Arsene Wenger is not alone in really, really rating Diaby. Laurent Blanc, huge admirer.
Yeah. There aren't many players that can do what Abu Diaby can do. Physically, he's
Well, that's
different.
what I'm saying about. He does bring something completely different.
Yeah, no, he's unique, and he's on his day he can be a special player. And also remember, Arsenal are a pretty small side, and his presence can help, especially defending set plays from corners, free kicks. Just having someone there that's of his stature, in addition to the centre backs,
and he can always get on the end of a cross at Old Trafford, can't he? Oh no, hang on. John's in Ilford. John, welcome to the home of football.
Oh, hi there, guys. Welcome back.
Hey, good to have you with us.
Yeah, I just wanted to. There's 2 points really. One of them was just picking up on the Alex Song-Cazorla debate, and I mean, interestingly, there's been a lot of sort of funny chatter around him since this sort of proposed Barcelona move. But the reason why I think Cazorla is such an important signing is because of the way we play football. And against those big teams, where you need a moment of brilliance, I think that's where we've missed the Fabregas. And if you look at a lot of Song's assists, they were in those big key moments of the game.
Absolutely, right at the end of games. Yeah,
and that comes from the fact that you do throw caution to the wind. And then on the flip side of that, it works. And then in other cases, you don't have a Song back there. But I think having a specialist, you cannot underestimate the influence of having a specialist. As good as Song is, you do play for Arsenal, so every player's got more to their locker than what's proposed. But I think, I think Cazorla's signing is important for that aspect, that you've got a player that in tight situations, like we have Arteta in defence, will get the ball and will play. And I think having Arteta and Cazorla from a defence and attacking point of view, all you've got to be worrying about is who do you play alongside those two if I was picking my Arsenal 11.
Yeah. All right, John, just pick your Arsenal 3. Your 3 to start against Sunderland on Saturday.
Oh, well, I don't know who's actually fit and who's not fit, but if I was picking from everyone, I would go Arteta, Song and Cazorla. Right. Those would be my 3. Unless Wilshere played a more defensive role, but those would be my 3. But you're talking about quality there, and if only Wenger actually looked at the defence and gave himself as many good options, then we'll be a hell of a team.
Yeah,
we'll be a hell of a team, because attacking-wise, he's never really got it wrong. We've always bought players that have the Arsenal DNA, as we always say. And if he did that with defence, I think just spent as much effort on defence, I think we'll be a crazy team.
Yeah. Well, you never know. We might turn out to be a crazy team anyway, John. I'm certain.
No, we always are.
I'm hoping so. We will. I think Cazorla, we are going to see some stuff this year. He'd been at the club 6 days?
Yeah.
Before yesterday. Do you know what I mean? Put in 45 minutes against a very ordinary team, you have to say. But once he finds his feet, I just think that is one to really, really get excited about.
He's not an unknown, is he? He's been doing the business in La Liga for a number of years, a good division, and everybody seems to love him over there. He's played over 40 times for Spain, the best international side of all time. So he's not exactly Mickey Mouse. Great player, but how he'll help us, I think, this year is when teams are very defensive against Arsenal, they sit everyone back behind the ball. You need a bit of imagination just to move the ball quickly into the front men, just without even looking. Just know where Giroud is or Van Persie. Play it around the corner, goal. That's what we missed a little bit at times after Fabregas left, and he's a special talent who I expect to do special things.
And would you be, just very briefly, if everybody was fit, would you take Arteta, Song and Cazorla as your...
I'm not dropping Cazorla. I'm saying Cazorla.
I'll say what you like. You know, the Spanish fella, you know who we're talking about.
That's how I'm pronounced. Mate, you've got Wilshere and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
I know.
I'm liking the look of that as a duo.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, let's leave Jack to one side for the moment.
Yeah.
Unavailable for, the foreseeable future, but at least 2 months of the season.
It really is. It's a 50-50 call, Song, Arteta, but I've been so impressed with Oxlade-Chamberlain in the central midfield and Diaby too that I'd be happy with any 2 of those 4 at the moment. I really would. I don't think there's much in it.
John, thanks for the call. Trevis is in East Sussex. Trevis, welcome to the home of football.
Hi, mate. Yeah. Nice one.
Fire away.
Well, I'm a bit concerned because everybody's talking about Diaby, but I'm a bit concerned whether, since he's had his broken leg, if he's actually going to come back to full fitness, because players that have had their legs broken, like Ramsey, Cisse, David Cisse, they've been in and out injured throughout the rest of their season, throughout the rest of their football career, after getting a broken leg.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned as to whether Diaby will have a full season with us. I think he'll come in as a bit part player, you know, coming on half time or after 70 minutes or something like that. But I don't know if he'll be able to withstand a full season in the Premier League.
That's really interesting, Travis. I mean, you know, you talk about let's not forget last season was Robin van Persie's first injury-free season since becoming an Arsenal player, and you know, you thought forever it's never going to happen. There's a talent, he'll never play more than 20 games in a season for us. He did last season, and you see what we got. Do you think Travis is right that you know, because it wasn't exactly a broken leg, it was a proper smashed up ankle. Whether you look at that sort of injury and look at what's happened to Abu since, do you think that long term there's a problem there, or do you think it's just we're waiting for his kind of Robin van Persie season to happen?
Well, I'd like to think we're waiting for that, for him to come good and that he can have a full season. I don't know. I mean, for every player that's had a bad injury, there are plenty that have gotten over those injuries and come back and enjoyed good careers. Henrik Larsson had a horror injury, came back and banged in plenty of goals. So it's doable. It's just it's strengthening your whole body. It's your muscles around your ankle, your legs. It sets off a chain with these injuries, and one thing gets fixed and then another thing goes. He's obviously the makeup of his body, there's something not quite right, and I'm sure Arsenal's medical staff are working overtime to get to the bottom of it. I think he can come back and have an injury-free season. You'd hope so, wouldn't you? And Arsene Wenger obviously thinks so as well. He's stuck with him. He's got a lot of faith in him as a player. I really, really hope he can come back. But the problem he faces is that Arsenal's midfield is tremendous. There are so many, as we just discussed, so many options. We haven't even mentioned guys like Aaron Ramsey, who played a lot of games last season. So he's up against it to get a starting place.
Actually, given that he's been playing for the GB Olympic squad, he's probably fitter than the rest of them at this stage.
Yeah, and he had a difficult time towards the end of last season, very jaded, I thought. But he's not a bad player, Aaron Ramsey. He's got plenty of ability, and I wouldn't write him off as a star of this Arsenal side of the future either. So Arsene Wenger's sport for choice. It's great because they're all going to have to be on top form to get a place in the side. But Abu Diaby will get games this season. It's down to him if he takes the opportunity and shows the manager he's worth picking above the other guys.
0207 607 3200 gets you through to the Fans Forum with Adrian Clark and myself. You can email us fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, and you can follow the Twitter feed @Arsenal, or you can tweet us. The hashtag you need is Fans Forum. And a reminder, we've got a copy of Football Shorts, edited by myself. Book of short stories for teens, really. If you are 15, 16 or under, or know anybody who is, it's for you, really. Available in all good bookshops, as they say, but more to the point, available Buckshee. This evening, all you got to do is tell me, after we watched Arsenal beat Colne 4-0 yesterday afternoon, who scored for Arsenal in their victory over Colne last pre-season. The email address you need for competition entries, fansforum competition @arsenal.co.uk. In the meantime, delighted to kick off the season by talking to Andrew Mangum from Arsblog. Andrew, how the devil are you?
Hi, very well, thanks, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all, actually. It's, in fact, more than averagely good, I have to say, and sort of feeling it's great novelty going into a new season, not feeling like there's a horrible disaster waiting to happen. That's not to say that there isn't, of course.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's still things to be sorted out. Obviously, you look at Van Persie and you look at Walcott, but I think it's a measure of how good people feel about the signings that Arsene Wenger has made so far this summer, particularly Cazorla, that these seem to be kind of side issues, whereas in seasons past they've been the main event, and we've been going into a new season bemoaning the fact that we haven't got our business sorted out in terms of players going in and players going out. So I think that's tremendously encouraging, and I know I only saw a little bit of them yesterday, but what we saw from the three guys who've come in was really encouraging too, and I think, you know, people are quite excited about what's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And just those stories that are lurking in the background. You mentioned Walcott, and relatively speaking, that's not been, as it were, the big story of the summer. The big story has been about the skipper, or last year's skipper anyway. Just your gut feeling, Andrew, about how those situations, maybe even the Alex Song situation, How do you see these things resolving themselves?
If you'd asked me 2 weeks ago about Van Persie, I would have said, no, he's going for sure, 100%. But I guess the closer you get to the start of the season and nobody has put their money where their mouth is in terms of Van Persie, in terms of what Arsenal want for him, and he doesn't seem to have a great deal in the way of options because Man City are fairly heavy with strikers and there seems to be a problem with Mancini and Marwood when it comes to doing transfers. So they don't seem to be up on top of things. Manchester United, you would like to hope that, number one, we wouldn't sell to Manchester United, and number two, Van Persie wouldn't go there. And after that, it's difficult to see what his options are other than staying with Arsenal for another year and moving on in perhaps on a Bosman next summer. I don't. It's just very difficult to say. I think his intentions were quite clear earlier in the summer, but it obviously hasn't panned out the way he would like it. And as for Alex Song, I don't know. I think there's a lot of smoke coming from Barcelona. I think they really want him. You can see by the way the groundwork is being done by the Catalan papers and by the Barcelona players talking about him, which is what they always do when they want a player. Yeah. It's up to Arsene Wenger to decide whether or not the Arsenal midfield is a place that we can do without Alex Song. And I was just listening to yourself and Adrian talking about all the options that we have there. So I don't know. It's an interesting one, but again, I think it's indicative of how good people feel that this isn't. It hasn't really got people tearing their hair out the way it might have done in summers past. Yeah,
I mean, it is incredible to think that the captain, the club's top scorer last season, fellow who from time to time was carrying that Arsenal team on his back. Yeah. Suddenly, there's the possibility of him going, and people are going. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. How would you feel, Andrew, because strictly speaking, that ridiculous letter, okay, looking at that, strictly speaking, he stepped back from saying, I want to leave. Strictly speaking, what he said was, I'm not going to sign a new contract. If he didn't sign a new contract, would you have a problem with him playing for Arsenal?
I think we've got to be a little bit pragmatic about it. I think probably Van Persie and I think his agent have misjudged the situation a bit this summer. I think they thought there'd be more clubs interested, and I think they thought when they released that statement that the goodwill that he had generated through his performances would have given him a free pass in a way, and there was quite a backlash straight away. Yeah. But if you think about it, putting that aside, and it is difficult to put that aside because it's an emotional thing and you're looking at what he said and it came across quite disrespectful, and he is the captain of the club and maybe you expect the captain to behave differently or better. If he stayed, we've got an absolutely outstanding forward line next season. And, at a time where fans and everybody is looking for a trophy after so many years without a trophy, do we cut our nose off to spite our face? I don't know that the relationship will ever be the same given what's happened this summer, but if he stayed and if he played well and if he gave 100% and scored 15 or 20 goals next season, it would surely go some way to helping us win something. So perhaps that's the way we need to look at it. Yeah,
which would be worth sacrificing 15 or 20 million quid for, wouldn't it?
Well, I guess so, yeah. I mean, if Arsenal win the league next season, everyone would say, well, it was a great piece of management by Arsene Wenger not to let him leave, because I guess if Arsene really wanted him to go, he could enable it, and make it a bit easier for Van Persie to go. So I guess that's the decision we have to come to as fans, because it is we don't like it when anyone is disrespectful about our club, particularly somebody that we've invested a lot in, a lot of emotional belief in Robin Van Persie and the way he came through all his injuries and the perception that the club has supported him all these years, and that's a reality as well as a perception. And so it was a bit difficult to take the statement, but at the end of the day, if you've got a forward line which includes Van Persie, Giroud, Podolski, Walcott, Cazorla, that's very tasty for next season. And given that the only option seems to be Manchester United, he would certainly strengthen Manchester United a lot more than he would strengthen Manchester City, for example. Yeah. So I think that's business worth avoiding if we can do that.
Yeah, I'm warming to the idea of him staying. I think there's nothing to be gained by selling him to Manchester City or Manchester United. The money, Okay.
But the thing is, the other thing to bear in mind with the money, and I think every Premier League club will have this in the back of their mind, the new TV deal is effectively a wodge of free money that comes at the start of next season. So if you think about, OK, if we don't sell Robin Van Persie now for 25 million pound, keep him, and then he goes for free next summer, well then that's covered off anyway by the improved Sky deal. So, but for me, the question would be entirely what Robin Van Persie are you going to get for a season?
I think his character is sound. I think, despite that letter...
Up until that letter, you think his character is absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
that was what was so incredible about
him. I've met him, I've spoken at length with him. He does love the club. He has strong feelings for the club. He's proud to captain Arsenal Football Club. I don't think he's desperate to leave. So yes, I would... I think if he stayed... he wouldn't let us down. I don't think his attitude would falter. I think he would give of his best.
Well, if he'd give of his best on last season's evidence is very good indeed. Really interested in your thoughts. 0207 607 3200 gets you through. Chris is in Newcastle. Chris, welcome to the home of football. Chris, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, Chris.
Hello.
Yeah, hiya.
Hello. I just wanted to go on about the Van Persie saga. Mm-hmm. Because it's like 5 days to the season, and like it doesn't seem like the club have given us any news. The only news that I've heard is like two lots of news. One wasn't going to sign a contract, and then another one where Alex Ferguson is saying how they're trying to get him at Man United, but Arsenal don't really want to sell him to Man United. But why would we want to sell him to one of our sort of our rivals?
Yeah, absolutely.
We wouldn't want to do that.
No.
And it seemed like at the weekend, it seemed Song and Van Persie were not interested in playing any football when we played against Cologne.
Did you get that feeling? What do you think?
No, I think that's a bit harsh. I think Van Persie was only on for 20 minutes. He didn't play particularly well, I have to say. Maybe he was affected by some of the booing from the corner there where Arsenal's fans were stood or sat. Alex Song did okay. I think he's been fine in pre-season. I don't think there's an issue with them attitude-wise. I really don't. But with Alex Song, I think it's understandable, Chris, that if Barcelona are interested in him, he's kind of tempted, isn't he? I think that's unavoidable if a club of that stature makes it known that they want you. I think your head is going to be turned, but I don't think that his attitude it will falter. And as for Van Persie, he's a good lad. I think if no one comes up with the money, Chris, Arsenal shouldn't sell him, and then it's down to Robin to have the right attitude to do the business for Arsenal for another season.
Yeah, I mean, presumably the reason there's no news is that there is no news. But what would you do? What do you think is the best possible? What do you imagine to be the best outcome for this?
If he does go abroad, not to go anywhere in England.
Yeah.
Because then it's just going to make it harder for us to win any trophies.
Yeah.
When we're selling our best players to
That is absolutely right. And that's why there should be a massive premium if we were to sell to an English club. You're absolutely... Do you think that kind of, the Real Madrids and Barcelonas and, I don't know, whoever else, none of them have turned up knocking, have they?
No, it's a strange one. I'm sure Robin might have expected...
Imagined that they would?
Yeah, that one or two, perhaps Real Madrid would have come in for him, but it hasn't happened, has it? Perhaps they're biding their time and make a late bid, who knows? But no, the options aren't really there, as Andrew Mangan was explaining for Robin, and I don't get the feeling he's desperate to join Manchester United or Manchester City. I think he might have been hoping that Barcelona or Real Madrid would have come in for him, and it hasn't happened. But I'm still optimistic. I'm always optimistic about Arsenal, and I think that the situation could be resolved. And if he stays, we have a cracking start to the season. He might just say, you know what, I'm going to sign on the dotted line. I'll commit the rest of my career to Arsenal. Yeah. I still think this could happen, but maybe that's just wishful thinking.
Yeah, I don't know, but who knows? If he does, like you say, if he does start the season, certainly if we get past August 31st, well, then the next staging post is January, when he can start talking to other clubs. Maybe he'll feel like talking to Arsenal as well as other clubs. Who knows? Maybe he won't feel like talking to any other club by then. We'll see, won't we? But Chris, thanks very much indeed for the call. Farhan is in Malawi. Great to hear from you, Farhan. Welcome to the home of football. Hi, how are you? Yeah, I think we're struggling for a line now. 0207 607 3200. We will try and get Farhan back. But in the meantime, email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk. Email from Samuel Gilbert says, I think Phil Jagielka would be a very good signing for the Arsenal. An experienced, versatile defender that can play anywhere across the back line and would benefit the team immensely, in my opinion. What are your views?
I agree. I think he's exactly the type of player that would fit in well for the reasons outlined in that email.
Centre-half, full-back, defensive midfielder.
It's like three players rolled into one. You've got that with Podolski to some degree, left wing, centre-forward, in behind the front man, three for the price of one. You would get that with Jagielka, and I think Arsene Wenger's an admirer of him. He's been linked with Jagielka before. Everton wouldn't want to sell, but Everton are not a flush club. You're not rolling in it. I think let's say Alex Song does go to Barcelona, worst case scenario, we sell him, we get 15 million or so, 20 million for him. We reinvested that into Phil Jagielka. I wouldn't be overly upset.
Gilbert, very, very good email. Thank you for that. 0207 607 3200 gets you through to the Fans Forum. As I say, email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk. You can as well join the conversation via Twitter. It's @Arsenal, or if you want to tweet, the hashtag you will need is Fans Forum. Fans Forum. Just one reminder, I promise I won't go on about it, but, hell, I've got books to sell. Well, no, actually, I've got one book to give away. Football Shorts, a collection of short stories about football by half of the stories are by established children's writers like Nick Hornby, Alan Davies, Terry Deary and plenty more besides. The other half are by current or former Premier League players, including the likes of Thomas Rosicky and Faye White. You can win a copy of Football Shorts. I'm plugging it here because I've edited it. But you can win this copy of Football Shorts. All you've got to do is tell us. We watched earlier as Arsenal saw off Cologne 4-0 in pre-season yesterday. We also played Cologne in pre-season last season. I want to know who scored for Arsenal in that game. The email address for competition entries is fansforumcompetition@arsenal.co.uk. Now to the tweets, and first of all, on whether we need an out-and-out defensive midfielder. Gesk Official says yes, we need one to play alongside Song, Mvia perhaps. At Gunner FC 2012, Song and Arteta had a great understanding with each other, so when one attacked, one defended, which worked perfectly. No need for a new defensive midfielder. At Carlos de Lima 01, whoever plays the holding role needs to be disciplined. Arteta was amazing last season. He always dropped into the pocket. At Ngashim says Coquelin is the answer to our defensive midfield problems. Maybe not this season, but certainly one for the future. And at Hanif Fabas says no need for a defensive midfield addition if we intend to keep Diaby. He can alternate with Song in that position. I'm not convinced that Abu Diaby's certainly hasn't got the kind of game understanding that Mikel Arteta has accrued over the course of a decade playing at the top. But there is an argument for saying that given what Arteta brings, not just in terms of ability, but in terms of his game understanding, it sets him apart.
Yeah.
Whether there is a need for a specifically defensive-minded midfielder when you've got that point about the way that Song and Arteta dovetailed last season.
That's the plan for Arsene Wenger. He wants them to do that, and they do it. I can see both sides of the argument, but the issue is Arsenal conceded too many goals last season. So it's like if what we're doing isn't working in a defensive capacity, should we look at changing it? And I think it would be good to have that option. I don't see Diaby as that guy. I don't think he's defensive minded. I think he just loves to.
He plays on the front foot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And players are either forward minded, as I was, or defensive minded. Mikel Arteta is a little bit different. He earlier on in his career he was very attack minded.
Well, it played wide on the right, didn't he, for Everton when he first got there.
As he's matured as a player, and because I think he saw Alex Song always busting the gut to get forward, he thought, blimey, I'm going to have to come in here. And he took it upon himself to do it, and he did it really, really well. But the truth is, he's not what you'd call a defender either. And I think there are times when a defender or a defensive midfielder it would benefit this Arsenal side to have one there. There aren't too many in the squad that you would say are that naturally. Coquelin perhaps, Frimpong, when he's fit, is certainly of that mould.
I think when we start to watch Frimpong more often, I think you'll see his game is like Diaby's game. I think he's actually... I know he loves to tackle. I know he loves to tackle. But he's really a player to play on the front foot for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Giroud? Could Giroud play that position?
He could. But whether he's good enough to do that, we don't know. We haven't seen him in there enough. I just think it would do no harm to bring in someone who can do that job and try it out. If it works, great. If it affects the team negatively in terms of we're wasting a player, then that player won't feature regularly, will they?
Yeah.
So, but I don't think it can do any harm to have someone in that squad that can do that job.
Does signing anybody now, if we're to sign anybody, we need players out the door, don't we?
Players
not just in terms of kind of... I'm not talking about that just from an affording point of view. I'm talking about just how many bodies are around the place. We need to get people out the door.
There were too many last year, and there are too many now. But I think bodies are going to go out of the door. Nicholas Bentner, it seems, is on his way out, and I think there'll be a number of others going as well. They need it. These guys, they want to be playing football, and the truth is the squad is so heavy at the moment that they're not going to get a look in, a lot of these guys, and they need to go. And Arsene Wenger and his team will be busy trying to help them pave the way for moves. So it will happen. It always does in the last couple of weeks of the transfer window.
Yeah. Ady's in Romford. Ady, welcome to the home of football.
How are you doing, guys?
Yeah, good evening.
I just wanted to talk about Wenger's philosophy. I think this year we've seen that the players he signed, for example, the 3 players he signed, Cazorla, Giroud and Podolski, the minimum age of that was 25. Usually Wenger would, by now, in previous seasons, he would have brought in at least 2 or 3 youngsters. Also with a couple of experienced players, but there would have been like an influx of youngsters. But this year, he hasn't done it, and I think he's realised that. Fair enough, he wants to build on that philosophy of youngsters and building talents and everything like Oxlade-Chamberlain, Coquelin, Jack Wilshere. But then I think he's seen this year that even though he hasn't spent a lot of cash on each of our signings, he's brought in experienced, talented, high quality players, all playing at international level.
Yeah.
With a good pedigree as well. Obviously, Giroud's just coming to the French team now. But then obviously he's still only 25 and he can build on that. Whereas Podolski and Cazorla, they've picked... Well, Podolski has 100 caps for Germany. Cazorla has 43 caps for Spain. So I think his philosophy is changing. Yeah. And I think it's only a good thing for Arsenal.
Yeah, Ady, I think it's a really good point. It's a point that could probably concern us between now and the end of tonight's Fans Forum, because I think you've absolutely nailed something that there was. And funny enough, I don't think it's happened this summer. I think it happened last summer. Last summer was the end of something. There was a whole, both in terms of kind of the way the team was put together from a footballing point of view, but also the way the team was put together economically. There was a particular kind of model that involved young players, paying them very well, paying young players, relatively speaking, very well indeed, and developing them, turning them into Arsenal players. And that blew up last summer, and he reacted by signing Per Mertesacker and Mikel Arteta, and he's gone on. Ady's quite right, he's signed experience.
But with young players, you invest time and money in young players. Not all of them are going to blossom into Jack Wilsheres that are going to be the future of the club for years to come. Some will be hits, some will be good for a while and then fade away. It's just the nature of young players. It's always a gamble. You don't know how they're going to turn out. with these guys that have come in this summer, they're established. You know what you're going to get from them. It's just, can they settle? Will they suit Arsenal? Will they fit in? What Arsene Wenger learned with the acquisitions of Mertesacker and Arteta, as well as their influence on the pitch, especially Arteta's, was their influence in the dressing room. Just that, the fact that they were encouraging the younger players, talking to them, advising them, being very, very professional in the way they went about things, and that's really important. And I think Arsene Wenger has seen that as a huge plus, and he thought, you know what, I'm going to get more of the same and buy players who are a little bit younger than Mertesacker and Arteta this time round, and give them a little bit more service over the years. And I think it's a clear shift in policy and a welcome one. Yeah,
but it's a shift in policy. I mean, he's quite right to talk about it, but it is a shift in policy that started last summer rather than having just arrived.
Yeah, I think so. And but there are plenty of good young players at the club. It's not
absolutely.
Not like we're not bringing our own talent through. But you can't bring everybody through, and you can't play 11 teenagers. It's just not going to happen. So that particular dream, that vision, is never going to happen. It's not going to return. You need a combination of your Oxlade-Chamberlains and Walcotts and Wilsheres mixed in with these new guys that come in.
But I think it's very interesting. Maybe you tell me it's a coincidence, but I look at the young players, because I think the idea was that you could grow a young team and grow them together and turn. I look at the ones that are left, and you've mentioned them: Oxlade-Chamberlain, Walcott, Kieran Gibbs, Jack Wilshere. You're getting the idea. There's a theme here, isn't there?
Yeah.
They have something in common. We've got Farhan from Malawi back. Farhan, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
So I've been an Arsenal supporter. I'm only 20, but I've been an Arsenal supporter for 12 years. And this season just feels good. Like, I have a good feeling for this season. The trophy might just end, but it all depends on Van Persie staying. Because if he stays, he literally put the club in third position, and that's 30 million on its own.
Yeah.
And Arsenal was fourth. They would be where Spurs are right now, getting kicked out from fourth because of Chelsea winning the Champions League.
Absolutely.
I was just dreading the fact that I was going to watch the Champions League finals knowing that Arsenal is safe. If it would be the other way around, I'd be biting my nails all day long.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important Van Persie stays. Although he might have to... I was watching the pre-season game against Cologne, and I don't understand other fans booing him, but if it wasn't for him, Arsenal would not be in the Champions League this season. They might end up being like what Liverpool is, in the 8th position for a couple of seasons now, and that would be the true Arsenal. So I think Van Persie should stay. Though we have a lot of strikers on hand, with Park Ji-young and Bentner and Chamakh. We've got a lot of strikers. I think some have to go. We need 3 or 4 strikers. Podolski, Giroud, Van Persie has to stay. And maybe just keep one striker, maybe Chamakh. And we need to get our defence up. And I think we should be there up with the Chelseas and the Man Cities and United. I feel very confident this season. All we need is Persie to stay.
Farhan, do you think, like me, that there is still a chance that he could do a U-turn and sign a new contract, or is that just wishful thinking on my part?
To do a U-turn, I think he was just trying to pressure the board and Arsene Wenger to sign players, because I think he wants to say, when I watched the Newcastle game, when Vermaelen scored in the last minute to win it, and I saw the passion in Van Persie when he had to go at Tim Krul, and I couldn't imagine him leaving the club after seeing that. No matter, I think he's just trying to pressure the board and the manager to sign on more players, because he knows, as he said, the policy is not taking the club forward, it's dragging them back, because we become a selling club.
Fine.
We like the training.
Fine, we're just losing the line, but thank you very much indeed for the call, because that is absolutely, we've heard from absolutely both sides and actually everything in between in terms of the Van Persie argument. And, you know, I really do think Farhan's onto something when he says, you know, I just mentioned that at the end of next season we've got a windfall coming. Every Premier League club's got a windfall coming, which, like every Premier League windfall, ends up going straight into players' pockets. That will, you know, that's what will happen next summer. Farhan is absolutely right. I'm not, you know, obviously there were other people who made a huge difference to Arsenal last season. Laurent Koscielny, Mikel Arteta, to name but two. However, the difference between fourth place and third place last season, without question, was Robin Van Persie. So he's earned us 30 million, and we're going to get 30 million extra next summer anyway, and more. So the idea of selling him because we'll make money, I think goes out the window, particularly selling him to another English club to get money just goes out the window. I'm warm to
this idea, I really am, because my initial reaction when I saw the letter was like, OK, you can't stay, you've got to go. But yes, I think the closer it comes to the season, knowing him as a character, he is a good person. He wouldn't give up. He wouldn't sulk, I don't think, if he stayed. So yes, it does not make sense to sell at all to Manchester City, Manchester United. We might as well just say it. We're not selling him to either of you.
No,
if Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus come up with 30 million, we'd consider it. If not, then you're our player. We're willing to risk losing you at the end of next season because we think that you will help us earn more money by qualifying for the Champions League, hopefully winning the Premier League or winning the FA Cup or, you know, one of these trophies. It will be worth that. And I'm warming to this idea.
Ladies and gentlemen, vote for Adrian Clarke. Elliot, Farhan, thanks very much indeed for the call. Sorry, the line just was falling away at the end there, but we absolutely got your drift. Great call. Elliot's in Toronto. Elliot, welcome to the home of football.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, and welcome back to what should be an exciting season. I watched the friendly yesterday, and I was totally enthralled by what we have in store for this new season. I mean, I am absolutely in love with that Cazorla. He is just an absolute peach of a player.
Yeah.
He was spraying balls in and out. He was playing from defensive midfield role all the way into the 18-yard box. I mean, what more do you ask for from this guy? And you know, when you see a guy like Podolski fire that third goal, that was just class. He just came through and just popped to the top corner, cool as you like, and it's like, okay, let's go. Next job. And then you see a guy like Giroud, who had bad luck yesterday, to be fair. He should have had at least a goal or two himself. I mean, the sky's the limit for this side. If we keep a guy like Van Persie, and if he's now, I keep saying this to myself, we now have the jewel back in the crown. Once we have Cazorla returning to this lineup now, who's going to be feeding balls in and out, left and right, at will, and you think of the other players in the team who can do the same. It makes it much easier for Van Persie to work because all he has to do is just operate, find space, and pick holes. That's it. And you know, same for Giroud, same for Podolski, same for Volkan. It's an absolute great team, and you know what? Credit should be given to Arsene Wenger, who took a lot of stick last year, a whole lot of stick, and he said, don't worry, I'll get us out of this. And he's done it again. I don't understand why people doubt this guy year on year. He's one of the best minds, if not the best mind, in world football. And we have him here at Arsenal. We are so lucky to have him.
Yeah.
And kudos to Gazidis, kudos to management, kudos to everyone at Arsenal for bringing this about, because at the end of the day, they realized their mistakes, they realized their fault, and they've come back and they said, okay, we have a plan, we're going to go about doing it. And they're set about doing it. And you know what? We're going to be the benefactors of that this year.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. It's difficult not to agree with you, Elliot, on all of that. I think going forward, we look a frightening prospect for opposition. They're not going to fancy playing against Arsenal. Are we going to be like a Barcelona this year? I'm just thinking about it, because we've talked about defensively, we're not... You know, we've conceded a few in pre-season. We're worrying, have we got enough cover in defence? Well, we need it. Barcelona don't seem to worry too much about their own defence, do they? They have enough forward players to keep the ball and hold the ball in the opposition half. Do you think that's the way we're going, or would you still like to see a little bit more focus on the defence too?
I think in the Premier League, you need to focus on defence. I think that sort of steal it still counts for something here. But at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. I mean, you are looking at the Barcelona side. I mean, for moments throughout that first half, that second half, they were pinging the balls back, forwards, sideways, left, and these guys weren't getting sniffed. And I can see half of the top division acting the same way because of the fact that now we have distributors of the ball who aren't afraid to pick a pass out, who aren't afraid to keep possession, and they know that they're self-assured that they're going to be the benefactors of it. And I think, I mean, quite simply, I think we have the best midfield going forward in this division. I think next to Man City, I think. And, in terms of our defense, yes, we have to step it up a bit there, but that's only one guy that we need really at the back. One. There's so many sides that need 2, 3, 4 holes that need to be filled. Here, it's only just one person. I mean, if we get an Mvia, if we get maybe a center back, that's all that's needed. Because I see Bold working on this team, and yes, there are holes to be worked out, but I think he can work out the kinks. And that first goal was a perfect testament to that. That first goal was beautiful. That was a Bold Adams sort of combination right there, and quite simply, it bodes well for the future. So yeah, I could see us being sort of a Barcelona side, but you still need a bit of steel here.
Elliot, thanks very much indeed for the call. You get on to the subject of Barcelona, you get on a whole different, because with Barcelona it's where they defend. They defend all over the pitch, and there's
a tongue-in-cheek element there.
It's not that they don't defend; they defend brilliantly.
Barcelona didn't become Barcelona overnight. You can't just become a Barcelona, but the theory there is if you have enough talent going forward, you won't need to worry about your defence so much. But my personal opinion is the same as Elliot's. You need steel in English football.
Yeah.
And we've improved in that department, but I think
still
work to do.
A few of your comments via Facebook on who we should sign this summer. Matt Sino Sentence says each of the signings this summer have further enhanced the squad, and with Wilshere nursing back to fitness, he will be like a new signing. Try to get Sahin in on loan, defensive midfielder, negotiate a deal for Mvia and draft in a top-notch centre-half to increase competition, and we will be strong. P.O. Vincent says Mo Farah as a defender. Yeah, he's got the height. Alex Carr says get Mvia so we can have someone in the middle that can actually tackle, then get another centre-back because Per is injury-prone and not that great. Do that, and I reckon they might win something this year. I tell you what, we had some great calls.
Yeah,
some great calls, some great... I mean, and that whole... It would be just absolutely fascinating to see, because Sahin, the Turkish international who went to Real Madrid last summer, hasn't really kind of found his place at, they had Sami Khedira had a great season, signing from Real Madrid to do pretty much the same job that Sahin was signed for, and Khedira was outstanding last year for Real Madrid.
I forgot about Sahin, yeah. I mean, this is a guy that's long been linked, and then at times it seemed like the loan deal was signed and sealed, but it hasn't got over the line yet, has it? So no, I think that's a perfect scenario. It suits the player. He gets to come to England, play for a great club here for a season. We get the benefit of it. We don't have to spend any money, there'll be a fee involved, but it's not going to be huge. Top dollar. He costs a lot. It costs Real Madrid a lot of money from Borussia Dortmund. That would be the ideal scenario, wouldn't it?
You got your car with you? We'll go and get him, shall we? Just back from America. I mean, part of the reason why nothing will have happened is that he has been on pre-season tour in the United States with Real Madrid and actually getting games. I can't remember. He played the other night against Philadelphia, I think. Okay. Or played for Real Madrid the other night, and I was delighted to see, if we are thinking about signing, a clash of heads that saw the other fella come out with the broken jaw and Sahin walked away from it. Obviously, you don't wish anybody a broken jaw, but you know what I'm saying here. Finally, Billy is in Hatfield. Billy, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us. Billy. Earth to Billy. Billy, you there? I'll tell you what, see, don't all that effort. Hopefully we will also we need to get a winner for tonight's competition to you as well. I should just say, look, we've been flying this evening, and apologies to everybody who's called and hasn't been able to get through, but we have got numbers. We will be calling you next week. Please join us every Monday night on the Fans Forum. I can't promise you Adrian Clark every single Monday, but we'll get as much of him as we can, I promise you. We'll make sure we get in touch ahead of next Monday, and of course shows to come every Monday night, 7:30 p.m, exclusive to Arsenal Player. Please do join us all the way through the season. We do have a competition winner. Who knew that our friend Gervinho, who scored yesterday, of course, also scored twice, in fact, against Colne in pre-season last season. Thanks for all your entries. Congratulations, Zara Caswell from Somerset. Football shorts will be in the post very, very shortly, I guarantee you. As I say, thanks for all your entries on the competition. Thanks too for your calls, for your emails, and for the business with Facebook and Twitter. Just to round off, Adrian, I think, generally speaking, and I'm not surprised, generally speaking, there is, despite the Van Persie situation, despite the Alex Song situation, if you want to call it that, if it is actually a situation or just... despite the Theo Walcott situation, which actually isn't even a situation by the look of it, particularly he's been fantastic in pre-season, Theo. He looks ready. He looks cooked. There's a lot of optimism looking ahead to the season. My one concern, and we've touched on it, nobody's played 90 minutes yet. Look at our first month. Home to Sunderland, away to Stoke, away at Anfield, game against Manchester City coming up very shortly. Is the only, we're right, I think, to be optimistic about the look of the squad, right to be optimistic perhaps about the season. The worry is that if you're not cooked, ready for first month of the season, well then the other 8 can be a struggle.
Yes, but it's done now, isn't it? We can't change.
No.
We can't affect that now. So...
No, I'm hoping you're going to tell me it's all right, we will be cooked.
I've got to say, I'm surprised that the players haven't played 90 minutes, but on the flip side, everybody's had a game.
Yeah.
Loads of every member of that squad has played some football. Believe me, they're training hard. They're playing practice games. They're fit. That's not the issue. They're going to be fit, but are they ready for 90 minutes in the Premier League? Who knows? We'll find out this weekend.
And are we ready to accommodate 3 players new to English football at
I
the same
think so.
time?
I think we've got quality players, we've got strength in depth, we've got competition for places, we've got spirit. Remember that from last season? Spirit and Van Persie took us to 3rd place when at one stage we were looking like we were struggling big time. There's a lot of reasons to feel optimistic. The fitness thing will come. Let's just hope the players can dig in, get through those games. After 2 or 3 games, they'll feel absolutely fine, and then be ready for the tough test to come. There are plenty of reasons to feel confident.
That's what we like to hear. And you're even warming to the idea of Van Persie being an Arsenal player on Saturday and beyond. Hey, look, absolutely fantastic first fans forum of the season. Thank you so much for being with us. Thanks for your calls, for your emails. Hope you've enjoyed it as well. If you've just been watching, obviously it'll be, I think you'll actually be able to watch it on arsenal.com tomorrow morning. So tell your mate, 7:30 p.m. of a Monday night. There's only one place to come and talk about the Arsenal, because there's only one place to come where we care about it as much as you do. So we will hopefully see you same time next Monday evening after the first game of the season here at the home of football against Sunderland. Do join Dan Roebuck, Stephen Hughes and the team for coverage of that game from 2:30 on Arsenal Player. Thanks very much indeed to Adrian Clark for his company. Great to have you with us as always. Arsenal v Sunderland. First game of a new season. Come on, the Arsenal!